Team Jimmy Kleager here. And so today's Fired Up Friday is really centered about what's important to you, and where are you putting your emotional energy. So I want to go back. I'm going to go way back and say when I was a young lieutenant in the Army, when I just started, only about 3 years into the Army, I was all fired up. I was ready to take on the world, and I discovered what I thought was a problem, and it was the mechanics in the motor pool. And I thought they were the problem. They didn't share my enthusiasm. They didn't share where I was going. So I had to look at I looked at him. I said, okay, so well, let me just step back and say these mechanics, that all of them have been in the Army 2 to 3 years, or 2 to 3 times longer than I had. So 9 to 12 years, and they possessed an expertise that was completely out of my. I'm an infantry guy going forward. They know the mechanics. They understand everything. I didn't have that expertise, but I thought I did. And they also didn't have they had a different command structure. And so, not putting all this together, because I'm young and dumb, and I'm fired up. I'm leading forward with my head. I had enough of the way they had been doing business, and I had tried to address it with them myself. I had tried to fix it. It was, yeah, I was ready to, I couldn't get anywhere. So I went to my commander and I said, "Hey, boss, I think this needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed at your level." And I eloquently explained the situation. Well, actually, I don't think it was pretty colorful the way I explained it. It was completely an infantry term. So I'm going to reserve those terms for that particular conversation. He looked at me, he said, "Hey, Jimmy, go sit on the couch." And this moment is embedded in my head. It was a green Naugahyde couch, 1960s era couch. And then he pulled up the whiteboard, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to talk to you about sphere of control and sphere of influence." And so he drew two circles, and just like this, he drew two circles that look like this: sphere of control and sphere of influence. And I said, "Okay, what's this, boss?" And he said, "Listen, this sphere of control, this circle right in the middle here, that's everything that you have control over. That's you tell it to jump, it jumps. You tell it, for me at this point, it's my kids, it's my business, it's what I have, my finances, it's what I have direct control over." Now he then said, "Okay, well, you've got this sphere of influence around the outside. That's everything you have to influence. And so you don't have control over it, but this is what you potentially can touch these things or these people, and they may or may not do that." And then he said, "Everything outside this circle, don't worry about." I went, "Okay." And he goes, "Your motor pool situation is outside this circle. It's not in your control. It's not in your influence. And so it sits out here." And I said, "Well, I still think it needs to be fixed." He said, "Well, let me tell you how this would get fixed. And that fix is, if somebody that's out here in your influence, that's in their control, and they choose to then take it and influence that, then they have the opportunity, then it's going to get fixed." So he said, "Listen, I'm the commander. I engage with the motor pool. So I am this right here. And this piece out here, guess what? I'm not worried about it. It's working like it should." I went, "Okay." So as we think about this, as we think about, okay, what's in our sphere of control, what's in our sphere of influence, I will tell you that each one of you, we all have this bucket of emotional energy. Every day we wake up, we have a bucket. It's only so big. It's a 5-gallon bucket, it's 1 gallon bucket, but it's only so big. So my question to you is, what are you going to do on a daily basis with that emotional energy? Are you going to put it towards something that you control? Are you going to put it on something that you influence? Or are you going to try to do something way out here and not have any effect? I will tell you that all of the national media, they love to pull you into this space out here. So my single that if you want to change one thing, if you want to say I've only got so much, I want to start putting it into here and into here and not worry about this. Turn off the 24-hour news service. Just turn it off. Turn it off. And so as you go about this week, this coming next week, that's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about where your emotional energy is being put. Is it in here? Is it in here? Or do you find yourself getting pulled into things that are way out here? So as I wrap up, it was a pivotal moment in my career. I'm sitting here sharing this with you. Yeah, I akin to, Luke Skywalker Yoda moment, one of those times where they just, they came together and one of the light bulbs went off in Luke Skywalker's head. But it turned out that those senior sergeants were correct. Those senior sergeants in the motor pool were doing the right things. I just didn't know, but it had pulled me out into this space that I should not have been in. And so my bucket emotional energy, I was wasting it on something that I potentially couldn't fix. So I offer you deep thoughts. Where is your emotional energy going? Sphere of influence, sphere of control. So as you go out next week, give that a big thought. Think about where you're putting your energy. Be distinctive.